Welcome, everybody, to the 28th episode of the Oreninc podcast series. I'm joined by Mickey Fulp, and we're in wonderful Beaver Creek. Mickey, thanks for taking the time.
We are in wonderful Beaver Creek at around, I think, 9,000 feet of elevation. It's sunny, it's warm, it's glorious up here.
It's just gorgeous every year, and every year. It's my fourth or fifth year. I can't remember. I think it's the fourth year. Every time, blue skies, no clouds.
Aspens are turning.
Fantastic. It's just gorgeous.
Yep.
We're both quite lucky to be in this, or be up here, actually, with 1,100 other people.
Yeah.
So it's the busiest precious metal summit I've seen. I remember 2015, I think my first one, there were like 300 people here or so. It was minuscule, and now they're exploding. 160 companies.
Wow.
It's just crazy. People are, I think the benchmark in terms of meetings for one company I spoke with is 60 meetings in 2.5 days, and that's just insane. Like, I feel bad for these guys, but they brought the whole team, so, but that's a lot. We're briefly going to talk about the index, and we're going to discuss metal prices, oil price real quick, but also just give you our impressions of the conference here real quick, see what we see. There are a lot of Australian companies. I think we should touch on that here as well. As always, I'm just quickly going to start us off with the Oreninc Index. It wasn't too spectacular, but we've seen an increase in the index score. We've jumped up to 26.4 last week on the basis that we've seen actually some broker activity. But as I said, nothing spectacular. Ascot Resources raised $3.5 million, and that was probably the biggest deal, or that was the biggest deal of last week. I've expected personally, because I've been to site, actually a bigger financing coming their way in terms to start their production. So maybe just to get their feet wet and to get things going there in the ground in BC. We should talk about financing activity here at the conference and what you're seeing. If there's some activity, Sable Resources announced a $2 million bought deal this morning through Haywood. From what I hear, it's fully subscribed, and I hear there's some really interesting people coming on board as well. So there is some activity here, and we'll dive into more details maybe in a second. But Mickey, why don't we look at the metal prices and what's happened here the last 2 weeks?
Well, gold's been very range-bound, basically between 11.95 and 12.05, maybe hit 12.06 intraday. A lot of that has to do, once again, with the U.S. dollar. Actually, the U.S. dollar overnight went below 94 for the first time in quite some time. But gold got knocked down on U.S. Market open today. I think it's about 11.97, something like that, as we speak. That's the precious metal sector, and the base metal sectors appears to have stabilized, and it's actually stabilized at a bit higher prices. So copper's 283 as we speak, and that's up at least a dime or 15 cents, maybe 15 cents
over the last
from
2 weeks.
Over the last couple of weeks. I think people are realizing that the supply-demand fundamentals of copper really will not support a price down in the 260 range. A lot of companies, the marginal producers, the highest quartile, if you will be underwater at a price like that.
No, I think China's comments not to play the devaluation game also, I think, helped the base metal prices to a degree to stabilize.
Yeah, and so a lot of this still has to do with the trade tariff talk, and China is, I think, learning that the U.S. is still an 800-pound gorilla on the block in that regard, and so we're hopeful that these things will be negotiated to benefit of all concerned in the world economy. Oil is above $70 today, so that's encouraging after its little dip, and it's back on track.
Now, the U.S., I read it somewhere, is now the world's largest oil producer as well.
Yeah, and actually it really has been for quite some time. Most of the numbers that are tracked are oil wells.
Yeah.
Production of
We've
oil.
had that. We discussed that before.
Okay, oil wells. And the U.S. is by far the largest condensate and natural gas liquids producer. And that really is oil. And you add that in, and we're way above the Saudis and the Russians in that regard.
Yeah, I just saw an article this week pop up at some forum again that the U.S. has surpassed everybody else now.
Yep.
So by a long shot.
Yep.
So that's really interesting. So we're here at beautiful Beaver Creek, at the Precious Metals Summit. What are your, like, the day and a half are over pretty much, the first day and a half. We got a day to go. What are your initial impressions? What's the mood here like?
Well, there's a lot of people here. I think the mood is subdued compared to what it was the last couple of years when we were banging around the high gold price of the year.
No.
And that's not what's happening now. We are very close. They're not that far off
No.
year's low for gold. So I think people have accepted the fact that gold's going to stay in this $1,200 range for a while now. It's really tied to the U.S. dollar. I do not see a lot of deal flow in terms of people looking for money or people looking to spend money. It seems to me more of a information gathering time,
Yeah.
and that's quite different, it seems to me, than the last couple of years.
That's true. A lot of corporates sniffing around as well. I've talked to a lot of companies that at least 20, 30, or even 40% of the meetings are with corporates. Mm-hmm. And one thing I mentioned in the opening remarks here is that the Aussies are actually quite dominant here and are making a foray into the North American space.
There's a lot of new miners here.
Yeah,
I
that
know
too.
that,
Yeah.
and because they're my friends in the geology business, some of whom I went to school with or have known for a long time, so I was impressed by that. So the majors are sniffing around. Majors are more or less in a world of hurt. They can't find enough gold resources or good projects to maintain their production.
No, I bumped into Agnico Eagle and Kerr Mining here as well, so
Right.
they're all
Yeah.
sniffing around.
Yeah, so the majors are sniffing around. I think that'd be a little different than in years past. But as I say, I wouldn't call it a boisterous mood like
No.
we had a couple of years ago. It really depends on the gold price.
No, that's true, but it is really busy, and this is the busiest precious metals summit I think it's ever been.
Yeah, it's a record number
Yeah.
of companies by far, and
Yeah,
I
160,
presume
so-
a record number of attendees. I mean, this
Yeah.
place is packed. It's overflowing.
Yeah, it's at capacity,
They've had
so-
to set up a couple of tents outside for the overflow for meetings. So.
No.
Yeah.
No, which is fantastic, actually. It shows there's interest still, and all the
Yeah.
important funds, all the important fund managers are here. Be it 1832, be it Fund Eck, they're all here. The bigger ones, the Russo management, they're all here. So I think this conference has a lot of significance, and people recognize that this format just makes sense.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it's a glorious time to be in the Rockies of Colorado.
Exactly. So I think love my job, hashtag love my job, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can't beat it. And, no, do you see a theme emerging from this conference? Do you see, I don't know, maybe a certain metal that's been discussed more than others, or
For
not
me,
really,
it's,
right?
It's all about gold.
Yeah.
No, it's it's a precious metal summit to begin with. So there are a few base metal companies, but not many.
Yeah.
So the focus
It's
really
gold.
is on
Yeah,
gold here.
I don't know no side stories really that I've noticed. So, yeah, as you said, I think that's a good point. Like, it's time for information gathering. Like,
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is I'm not seeing a lot of new deals, new companies.
Yeah.
And last year we did see some emerging U.S. explorers.
because Nevada was just,
well-funded.
Idaho was just coming up.
Yeah, right. So the Trump effect was really coming in that a year ago,
Yeah.
and we saw the results of that, and I don't see that this year.
No, there's not. As you said, there's no new companies really. I haven't met any. Like I've taken 16 meetings or 17 meetings over the last couple of days, and yeah, not 61, but which is just insane.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. The mood is sobering. Although people are out at the bar and drinking as always. It's great for networking.
Yep.
But not a lot of deal flow, as you said. I've only been offered a couple financing so far. Nothing too outrageous. So yeah. No, Mickey, any closing remarks? Should we close with our number of the week?
Let's do that, Kai.
Okay. What's your number of the week?
158.
Okay. Tell me.
So you and I were at the Bronco game on Sunday,
Yeah.
and the Broncos got the ball with 1:58 remaining, 1 minute 58 seconds, needing a field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
Marched down the field and kicked the field goal with 6 seconds left to make us happy fans.
I got goosebumps. It was fantastic. It was great.
It really was.
The first half was horrible to watch as a fan, but the second half definitely made up for it. So
It did.
It was a great time. I actually gave away my number of the week already because I wanted to talk about the stats here. So, 1,100 attendees, 160 companies. I think those are my numbers of the week, just because we're here at the Precious Metals Summit. So I'm just repeating them. Kind of boring, but I gave them away too early because I got too excited. But no, Mickey, thanks for making the time. Enjoy the rest of your time here at Beaver Creek, and we'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
All right, thanks a lot, Kai.